Hello again everyone and welcome to our April edition of Quick Kit. Let's get straight into some new firmware and software updates. First off, Sony have announced a new set of upcoming firmware for the FX6 and FX9, the headline addition being the support of 4K 120p raw output to an external recorder. One interesting point in this press release is that there is a mention of there being a new Atmos recorder that will handle 4K 120p, which we will have a look at in a moment. The FX9 is having a few other features added to it too. This consists of a 2x and 1.3x anamorphic D-squeeze, CinemaScope frame lines, S700 PTP, which is a protocol for Sony camera control, and lastly the addition of a Super 60mm center scan mode, which plenty of FX9 users have been asking for. This would be great if you need to get some extra reach out of your lenses or use B4 lenses. Sony has also mentioned that there will be other features, but we do not know them, so keep an eye on our social channels for when the firmware finally drops to stay up to date with it. As you just mentioned, Atmos have now announced a new update to the Ninja 5, the Ninja 5 Plus. This new version of the Ninja 5 comes with a new chipset that enables higher resolutions and frame rates to be captured. It will be capable of capturing 8K up to 30 frames per second and 120 frames per second in 4K in ProRes RAW. The only cameras we have confirmed to work well with the Ninja 5 Plus currently are the FX6 and FX9, which, like we just said, output 4K 120p. Atmos have also added H.265, so I'm interested to see how this has been implemented. This new recorder is also much more expensive than the Ninja 5, so I'm intrigued to see if there are any other changes to the unit, which we'll take a look at when we get a unit in to test. Let us know what cameras you can see this paired with down in the comments below. Blackmagic have also released Camera Update 7.3, and this adds a range of new features to the entire Pocket series of cameras, but most importantly, an LCD calibration which allows users to adjust the color temperature and tint. This means all of the users that are experiencing issues with the accuracy of their LCD on the 6K Pro can now calibrate their monitor using this feature, which is awesome. They've also improved a range of other things, with the standouts being improved focus peaking for Gen 5, it's turned the Luma histogram to an RGB, and it has added color channel clipping indicators. The Pocket 4K and 6K have specifically gained 3 new features also, which are the ability to shoot and monitor in Generation 5 color science, support for LCD screen dimming for users who rarely use the LCD, and the addition of Q1 and Q3 B-RAW recording options. Now, all of these additions are great to see, and the firmware is available to download now via the link in the description below. There have also been a few other firmware updates that we won't be going super in depth into, such as Teradek adding NDI to the Cube 700, Sony released a very small update to the a7S III, Panasonic updated several of their camcorders, and Rode updated their wireless Go 2. Canon also released firmware 1.3.1 for the R5 to solve the issue with the C-Log 3 View Assist that we mentioned in our video. More detailed information of each of these is down in the description below. Canon have announced that they are going to be releasing the EOS R3, which looks to be their new flagship mirrorless camera. Looking at Canon's website, it's clear that this camera is aimed at pro sports photography and filmmaking with a focus on pure speed. They've also claimed that the autofocus has been improved, which is quite a claim given how fantastic it is on the R5. It looks to also feature a new backside illuminated CMOS sensor, which will be paired with a Digic X processor, which will be able to capture up to 30 frames per second with full autofocus. I'm really excited to see how this camera shapes up, so make sure you hit subscribe, ready for when we get our hands on it. Sony announced a new product being developed in their HDC series of cameras. This camera will feature a Super 35 4K global shutter CMOS sensor, and the interesting thing about this announcement is the size of the sensor, as Sony already have cameras in this lineup with 4K global shutter sensors, but they are much smaller than Super 35. There have been a few additions to the broadcasting segment like this recently, but it's interesting to see Sony updating their line with a larger sensor camera too. Sony make their own sensors, and the sensor in this camera could trickle down to some of Sony's non-broadcast cameras if it's not too expensive for them to create. DJI announced the new DJI Air 2S, which features a 1-inch 20-megapixel sensor capable of capturing 5.4K up to 30p and 4K up to 60p in 10-bit while using DJI's D-Log. The Air 2S features a range of new improvements over the Air 2, but does seem to lack some of the more pro video-orientated features present on the 2 Pro. CineEye have produced a great review of it over on their site, so if you want to learn more detail about the Air 2S, head over to their site via the link in the description. There have also been a range of lenses announced this month, starting with Meike's announcement of another addition to their full-frame Cinema Prime series, an 85mm t2.1. We were really impressed with the 50mm t2.1 that we looked at last year, and I'm really excited for the 35 and the 85 to start shipping, as the 50mm is fantastic value for money, and hopefully the rest of the set is too. You can check out our review of the 50mm via the link below. On the higher end, Zeiss have just released 4 new focal lengths of their Supreme Prime Radiance line, an 18, 40, 65 and 135mm, all featuring the same form factor as their Supreme counterparts, a maximum aperture of t1.5, and the same blue star coating that gives the Radiances their unique flair. Sigma have fleshed out their catalogue of Sony E-mount lenses even more with the release of the 35mm f1.4 DG-DN. We have just received the loan units test, so we'll be doing a video looking at it next week or so. So if this is something you don't want to miss, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Sony have been releasing lots of lenses as of late, and their latest is their FE 14mm f1.8 G Master. As with other G Master lenses, it features a declickable iris ring and linear focus motors, which will be great for manual or autofocus. This looks to be a great little ultra-wide for E-mount users, and to me, the most appealing thing is the size and the weight of the thing. It weighs only 460 grams and is just nearly 100mm in length and 83mm in width. And this could make it a fantastic full-frame gimbal lens for smaller gimbal setups. We should be getting one to test soon, so let us know in the comments what you'd like to see filmed with it. Canon have also been very busy and have announced 3 new RF mount lenses. These are the 100mm f2.8 L IS USM macro, 400mm f2.8 L IS USM, and 600mm f4 IS USM. The super zooms are a cool addition, but I'm more excited to test the new 100mm as it features some cool looking features, such as the ability to control spherical aberration, which will allow you to control the look of the bokeh between a defined look and a softer, less defined one. I'm really intrigued to see how this performs, as it could be a really solid solution for owners of the R5, C70 or Komodo looking for an RF mount macro lens. Tamron makes some very popular E-mount lenses, and recently they announced 2 more to their lineup. A new 150mm to 500mm f5 to 6.7 ultra zoom for full frame Sony E-mount cameras, and an 11 to 20 f2.8 for APS-C Sony cameras. And this ultra wide could be a good option for people still using Super 35 E-mount cameras. I'm intrigued to get my hands on one properly to give it a test. Litepanels announced the new Gemini 1x1 hard earlier this month as well, which uses the same TIR lens technology as the Astra 6x to create the brightest and possibly the most versatile 1x1 panel light on the market, while also being very colour accurate across its output range. We reviewed it last week, so you can check it out via the link in the description. Accsoon also released a new wireless video TX-RX set, the CineEye 2S Pro. And this new system is based off of the existing 2 Pro, but with the addition of an SDI input and output. It has a rated range of up to around 1200 feet line of sight with a latency of around 60 milliseconds, and it can connect up to 4 dedicated receivers or mobile devices. And this could be a really good option for people on a budget, but will definitely not replace a zero delay system for some applications. We recently did a video about wireless video, so if you want to check that out, link to that is in the description below. Flanders Scientific makes some fantastic monitors, and they recently updated their line with the AM211 and the BM211, which are replacements for the AM210 and the BM210. These new monitors have a new backlight which has improved the colour gamut to cover 96% of P3 and has improved contrast over the previous models. These look to be really solid, reasonably affordable options for people wanting a feature-rich professional colour accurate production monitor that will be at home, out in the field, or in a colour or edit suite. If you want to learn more about these, get in touch with us via details in the description below. We missed this one last month, but Bright Tangerine also released their Axle, which is a universal EVF mount. It is essentially a 15mm sliding EVF bracket that uses a quick release system, which natively supports Arri's EVFs, to offer a range of compatibility with different EVFs. There are adapters for Canon, Sony and Zacuto EVFs, with more coming in the future. I really like the distance markings on this unit, so you can make a note of what distance you need for a given setup and repeat it easily. Tilta make a massive range of accessories for the RS2, and their latest is a power pass-through plate kit. This replaces the existing sled on the RS2 and provides multiple 2-pin LEMO and PTAP power outputs. This is available in either gold or V-mount and could be a really solid solution for some gimbal configurations. Hopefully we will have this in our gimbal room in our central London showroom as soon as possible. Sennheiser also announced 2 new products aimed more towards the lower end of the market. This is a new shotgun microphone and a range of affordable lavalier microphones. The new MKE-400 is a small form factor shotgun microphone that will be at home on top of a DSLR or mirrorless camera. It uses a supercardioid polar pattern, an internal shock mount and windscreen, and you can even plug headphones into the mic for monitoring. The XS Lav is an affordable omnidirectional lav mic aimed at being used for smartphones and computers. It features a 2mm cable and is available in 3 different kits depending on what you need. It's clear Sennheiser are aiming these lav mics at the masses because of their price points and their plug and play nature. This is my test with the MKE-400. It is around 15 centimeters away from my mouth. We're going into the A7 III. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Anton Bauer has released a range of new accessories for a few different cameras, starting with a dual FX9 micro plate. This is attached onto the back of the camera using the 2 points on the top of the camera. It steps up voltage to 19.5 volts, which is needed by the DC input, and you can even fit a BPU battery in the camera for hot swapping. They also announced a plate for the red Komodo, which attaches to the camera via the battery plate on the back and uses the 2-pin input on the back of the camera to power it. It's a little taller than other solutions because it allows you to change the orientation of the battery plate between horizontal and vertical. To go with these solutions, they have also announced a 4-way charger for their micro series of batteries. It's available in either V or gold mount, can handle 4 micros or 2 regular size batteries, and features a 4-pin XLR output, of which you can use the same time as charging. Lastly, they released a 26 volt to 14 volt gold to V mount converter, so you can use their 26 volt batteries across systems that require 14 volt. This will be handy for owner ops and rentals who've bought into 26 volt or thinking about buying into the 26 volt system to power their higher power lights or cameras and allow them to use them across more systems. If you enjoyed this, please make sure you subscribe, ready for next month's quick kit, and let us know what kit you've picked up this month in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.